So, Beth, what do you make of the results in so far?
Well, Anna, we've got about a quarter of the results in, and how we were framing it last night was, number one, it's a box office set of local elections because it's the first big electoral test, or the last one, rather, before the general election. There were three things we were looking for. Can Labour, do they look like they're on course to becoming the party of government, and could Keir Starmer win an outright majority? It's an absolute huge ask, by the way, to have a bigger swing than Tony Blair did in 1997, and that was a post-war record, just to put it in context of the scale of that task. The second question, or the subplot in all of it, was the Lib Dem blue wall battleground. And then the third thing was, can Rishi Sunak contain Conservative Party losses? Has he, as some of the strategists say, detoxified or beginning to detoxify the brand? And on all of these fronts, the results are genuinely fascinating and are really telling an interesting and illuminating story about where the country's at. And if I start off with Labour, I mean, it was a terrible night for the Tories, and I'll come to that. They have made wins in key councils so far, it's early still, that they've never won before, like Medway and Kent. So that was a huge symbolic moment. Tony Blair didn't win Medway, but Keir Starmer has. They're looking to take Dover and Swindon in the Red Wall. They took Stoke-on-Trent. What will we see in Middlesbrough and Darlington? But the caveat here is they didn't pick up as much as we might have thought in Hartlepool and Tamworth, and in Dudley in the West Midlands. And also, I heard overnight that in the East Midlands, this is a key battleground between the Conservatives and Labour, that it might be a bit softer there for them. So could we see a little bit of loss of momentum later in the day? But I think it's pretty clear that what we're seeing is they're heading for a general election win. The big question is, can they win an overall majority? You've had them all spinning here this morning going, oh, well, yes, we can. Michael Thrasher, our election expert, and I tend to trust him more than a political spinner, is saying the jury is still out on that. But again, it goes back, Anna, to that question about it being a gigantic task. So that's Labour. On the Lib Dems, I mean, an absolutely barnstorming performance for them, and coming from a high watermark when they contested these seats back in 2019. We were saying gains of over 150 were incredible. A senior figure in the party has suggested to me that they might hit gains of 300 or more. So this is going to be a big story today, the fight in the blue wall. And these seats, we haven't really seen them contested well, certainly last year's local election. So it's the first acid test, really, about how are the Tories holding up in the Remain-facing parts of the blue wall, and the answer is they are not. And a Lib Dem said to me today, as they won Windsor and Maidenhead, the worst is yet to come for the Conservatives. Surrey, Hertfordshire, Sussex all counting shortly. And then finally, to come to Rishi Sunak, a disappointing night. Well, back in 2019, when Labour and the Tories did really badly in this set of local elections, we described it as a plague on both your houses. There was a rejection of both the Conservatives and the Labour Party. Remember, it was Brexit wars. Theresa May soon lost her job. Boris Johnson came in, and then that barnstorming general election. This is not a plague on both your houses. This is a plague on Tory houses. I mean, they are losing in the Red Wall. They are losing in the blue wall. It shows, as their rivals have said, that the country is telling the Conservatives that they are fed up with them. And what does it mean for Rishi Sunak? Because he was meant to be the person that smoothed over some of the bad recent memories, if you like, of the Truss mini-budget and all the debacle around Boris Johnson. But it's suggesting that he's not picking up any support at all. Now, if they get losses over 700 seats, it's going to be, to quote one senior insider, an absolute disaster.